Vampire Survivors. Where to even begin? I suppose it would be best for me to provide you with some context for myself and how I tick. I would class myself as nigh impossible to hype up for any sort of game anymore. When I hear building hype around something, my natural instinct is to lower my expectations to the floor. Because far too many times, things I was hyped up for as a result of other people, or even the internet, ended up truly and utterly disappointing me. See, I have learned the hard way through years of bad and unfinished products in the video game space that to be hyped is an almost guaranteed way to hurt yourself. As a rule of thumb, I never allow hype to reach me or sway me one way or the other until either I myself or someone I really trust the taste and opinion of is the person creating that hype. So as you might guess, when I originally heard of Vampire Survivors, I looked it up and saw some gameplay here and there, but alongside that gameplay was just this massive deluge of people raving about how incredible and great this thing was. Quite frankly, when I watched gameplay of it, it didn't really click at all. So for months, even though I knew that it existed and had a vague idea of what it was, I ignored the game, did other things, played other games, put it all the way to the back of my mind, and completely forgot about it. Then, one fateful, boring day, while I was working on the script for the first ever video on this channel, in fact, I opened Steam and scrolled around to see what was on sale that week. Something I do far more often than you'd think considering how little I actually end up buying. Wouldn't you know it? I scroll past a familiar little name, Vampire Survivors. I click on it, stare at its storefront for a while, during which time my exhausted brain's gears slowly kick into motion, and I see that the price it is selling at, a bundle with the at the time of writing only DLC included, is under $5. Now don't ask me why. It couldn't be because I just recently had consumed this item in a ravenous hunger post-gym, but my brain instantly threw out the thought, wow, that's cheaper than 2 barbecue wraps from KFC. There are times where a simple thought is so powerful to your oxygen-starved brain that you almost make a decision on the spot. For some reason, this comparison my brain had barely managed to cough out did it for me. I said to myself, screw it, why not? And I purchased the bundle. Since then, I have accumulated around 20 hours of game time according to Steam. 20 hours of some of the most fun I have had in recent memory. Now with this context out of the way, let me actually get to the point of this video. Vampire Survivors. Now if I were to just explain the gameplay to you, you'd be confused. You'd probably think to yourself, well that sounds utterly mindless and boring. Trust me, you'd be wrong. All that you do in this game is move. You pick a character, you pick a level, and you move in the 8 directions that 2D design allows for. Again, I can see it, feel it, smell it. Those of you unacquainted with the game are thinking, that sounds stupid. How could that possibly result in some of the most fun you have had of late? Well, to put it in a way that you understand, this game is the ultimate example of something incredibly well made, tight, engaging, and as deep as a mine shaft, created in the simplest form for you or anyone to interact with. The gameplay may seem, when just explained in a base sense, as simple, but the amount of systems, unlocks, characters, items, combos, and evolutions of the formula that take place within any of the runs you'll have in the game will completely blow your mind. The game that I immediately thought of when this formula started to click for me was The Binding of Isaac, one of my favorite games of all time. Those of you familiar with it will know that as you play, you unlock more and more interesting items and characters over time. Well, Vampire Survivors takes the same formula, but applies it into a system of gameplay that is even more inviting of what I loved most about Isaac. That feeling of, well, I am between doing things, I think I could squeeze in a run of the game right now. That is how, so far, the game has managed to get 20 hours out of me. It will likely get hundreds, because no matter how simplistic it may seem at the surface, once you get into it, you will feel that need to see what comes next. What items pair together to evolve into an even new, stronger item? What character quirks and different abilities and stats will the next character I unlock bring to the table? You'll want to see if you can use Father the Mario, who has a slower base walk speed, to survive just as long as a way stronger character. You'll want another taste, no matter how many times you come back. It is the single most addictive thing I have touched in ages, and it has sucked me in completely and utterly. Another element in its favor is just how inherently bite-sized it is. Every single run will last about 30 minutes. By the point you hit 30 minutes, death itself will spawn into the stage and instantly hunt you down, ending your run. I am aware that you can circumvent this in a specific way, I just haven't unlocked enough things yet, okay? This way of the game segmenting itself into 30-minute runs makes it perfect as my go-to for the between activities activity. I'll be doing some work, writing a script, editing, mastering sound, maybe recording something, and when I finish that, I'll throw in another run. Then repeat this process with every single thing that I get done throughout my session on the good old PC. It's the ultimate digital snack. I also just cannot emphasize enough how good it being so simple is. This may be the most accessible roguelike in the world. Not because it's easy or boring, but because the way to play and engage with it is just so straightforward. A literal child or an old man could probably play the game just as well as you or I, so long as their eyes can follow what's happening on the screen, which even I fail at times with some of the wild builds you make. They'll be able to grasp the basics of movement quite quickly, and after that, just enjoy the experience. I am someone quite fond of hyperbole. You'll get to know that about me real quick. So trust me when I say I am not exaggerating here. I honestly would claim that this is a perfect game. Some of you may gasp in horror at that statement, but no, I don't mean perfect as in better than any and all other video games out there. I mean perfect in achieving what it sets out to do. The goal of the game is to be a super addictive, incredibly fast, and easy to pick up roguelike, with an endless amount of features for you to sink your time into. And it manages to do that with flying colors. It has hooked me like I never expected it to. And I didn't even go into it thinking it would be good. I bought it on a whim because of a silly food-based thought my brain farted out one day. The simplicity is the magic. This game is perfect because of it, not in spite of it. I would recommend it pretty much to any of you. Again, it's cheaper than 2 barbecue wraps at KFC. What more can I say? If you've yet to even hear about it until now, or had heard about it, but ignored it because of the incessant hyping up by random people on the internet, well, I am asking you to trust this random person on the internet who felt the same way as you, and just give it a chance. Who knows, you might end up 20 hours deep into a brand new addiction, thanks to me. So just as a disclaimer, this was not the planned second video for the channel. That's still in the works, because it's a big boy. It'll take some time. This video was born simply out of my need to talk about this game that has been single-handedly annihilating my productivity, and giving me a hell of a time to boot. The next video I am working on will also be focused on a single game, but it'll follow a lot more closely to a true video essay format. I will be doing quite the deep dive into that game, as it is one of my absolute favorites ever made, and I have a lot to say about it. Hopefully, this satiates your endless hunger for content in the meanwhile. Like always, please do like, sub, and share it, because I refuse to have social media accounts, so I cannot self-promote anywhere but here. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.